Hello and welcome back to the Science of Concrete Materials class. Uh, we are still on the cement module of the class, the hydration and microstructure. This is lecture number 14 of the class, and today's topic is the interfacial transition zone, which exists basically between the bulk paste and the aggregate. It's abbreviated as ITZ. This, constitutes a separate topic since the properties are different from the bulk paste, and it is also related to the concrete microstructure, not just the paste, because it exists in concrete. And this is basically a primer for the concrete microstructure. So, as an introduction and general definitions of the ITZ, the interfacial zone exists between the large particles of aggregate and hardened cement paste. Although composed of the same elements as hydrated cement paste, the microstructure and properties of this interfacial zone are different from the bulk paste. So it is treated as a separate phase of the concrete microstructure, and the behavior and properties of this zone actually explain various properties of and behaviors of the concrete. Examples: why concrete is brittle in tension but relatively tough in compression, for example. The components of the concrete, when tested separately under uniaxial compression, remain elastic until fracture, whereas concrete itself shows inelastic behavior. Also, why the compressive strength of a concrete is higher than its tensile strength by an order of magnitude. Why at a given cement content, water cement ratio, and age of hydration, cement mortar we defined before, cement, sand, and water, will always be stronger than the corresponding concrete when we add aggregates. The strength of concrete goes down as the coarse aggregate size is increased. The permeability of the concrete containing a very dense aggregate will be higher by an order of magnitude than the permeability of the corresponding cement paste. All this, what I'm reading, it relates to this interfacial zone. Also, an exposure to fire. The elastic modulus of concrete, it drops more rapidly than its compressive strength. All these questions, why? So let's just talk some more about the microstructure of the ITZ. Information about the interfacial transition zone in concrete is really scarce, which is, due to experimental difficulties. Based on a description given in reference 3 of this class, which is the references I named at the beginning, some understanding of its microstructural characteristics can be obtained by following the sequence of its development from the time the concrete is placed. So first, in freshly compacted concrete, water films form around the large aggregate particles. This would account for a higher water cement ratio closer to the larger aggregates than away from it, meaning in the bulk mortar. Next, in the bulk paste, calcium sulfate, hydroxyl and aluminate ions produced by the solution of the calcium sulfate and the calcium aluminates compounds combine to form ettringite and calcium hydroxide. Owing to a higher water cement ratio, these crystalline products in the vicinity of the coarse aggregate consist of relatively larger crystals as compared to their counterparts within the bulk of the paste, and therefore form a more porous framework than the bulk cement paste or mortar matrix. Okay? So basically, the plate-like calcium hydroxide crystals tend to form in oriented layers, for instance, with the C-axis perpendicular to the aggregate surface. Finally, with the progress of the hydration, poorly crystalline calcium silicate hydrate and a second generation of smaller crystals of ettringite and calcium hydroxide start filling the empty space that exists between the framework created by the larger ettringite and calcium hydroxide crystals. This helps to improve the density and hence the strength of the interfacial zone eventually. A scanning electron, microscope, micrograph, and a schematic representation are shown on the next slide. I'll show them now. As you can see here, this is a scanning electron microscope, and you could see the orientation. This is the aggregate. As you can see, the orientation of the calcium hydroxide crystals, and you can see the larger nature of these crystals forming in this zone. And this here is basically a representation of what goes on, and you see the coarser nature of the hydration product formed in this zone. This is the aggregate, this is the interfacial zone, and this is the bulk paste. And you could see, of course, this is less dense, more porous than the remaining part of the paste. So let's see how strength of the ITZ compare to the bulk of the paste. As we said, as in the case of the hydrated cement paste, the cause of adhesion between the hydration products and the aggregate particle is due to the van der Waals forces of attraction. So the strength of the interfacial transition zone at any point depends on the volume and size of the voids present. So even for low water cement ratio concrete at early ages, the volume and size of the voids in the interfacial zone will be larger than in the bulk mortar. Consequently, this will be weaker in strength. However, with increasing age, the strength of the interfacial transition zone may become equal or even greater than the strength of the bulk mortar. This may occur as a result of the crystallization of new products in the voids of the interfacial zone by slow chemical reactions, between the cement paste constituents and the aggregates. Basically, the formation of calcium silicate hydrates in the case of the siliceous aggregates, or the formation of carboaluminate hydrates in the case of limestone aggregates. So the larger calcium hydroxide crystals, usually possess less adhesion capacity, not only because the lower surface area, because they're crystalline, and correspondingly weak van der Waals forces of attraction, but also because they serve as preferred cleavage sites owing to their tendency to form in an oriented structure. In addition to the large volume of capillary voids and oriented calcium hydroxide crystals, a major factor responsible for the poor strength of the interfacial zone in concrete is the presence of microcracks. The amount of microcracks depends on numerous parameters, including aggregate size and grading, the cement content, water cement ratio, degree of consolidation of fresh concrete, curing conditions, environmental humidity, and the thermal history of the concrete. This is, why the cracks. For instance, a concrete mixture containing poorly graded aggregates is more prone to segregation during consolidation. So, thick water films can form around the coarse aggregate, especially beneath the particle. Under identical conditions, the larger aggregate size, the aggregate size, the thicker the water film. So the interfacial transition zone formed under these conditions will be susceptible to cracking when subjected to the influence of tensile stresses induced by differential movements between the aggregates and the hydrated cement paste, for example. Such differential movements commonly arise either on drying or cooling of the concrete. So in other words, a concrete can have microcracks in the interfacial zone even before a structure is loaded. So obviously, short-term impact loads, drying shrinkage, and sustained loads at high stress levels will have the effect of increasing the size and number of microcracks. So that's one aspect or one thing you need to remember. So let's look, at again more of the influence of the ITZ on concrete properties. So the interfacial zone, generally the weakest link of the chain. It's considered as the strength limiting phase in concrete. It is because of the presence of the interfacial zone that concrete fails at considerably lower stress level than the strength of either the two main components. This becomes more appreciated, or it will make more sense when we talk about the response to stress, the concrete response to stress, and the mechanical properties. Also, the microstructure of the interfacial zone, especially the volume of voids and microcracks present, as I just mentioned, what would be the source of the microcracks, has great influence on the stiffness of the elastic or the elastic modulus of the concrete. Also, the existence of the microcracks in the interfacial zone at the interface with the coarse aggregate and reinforcement or embedded items, other embedded items, and the larger void size is the primary reason for that concrete is more permeable than the corresponding hydrated paste or mortar. Higher permeability means ingress of air and water, which will result in corrosion of reinforcement, among other issues. So basically, knowing the weaknesses or inherent weaknesses and characteristics of this zone, we can do things to mitigate the risks involved by ensuring consolidation, good consolidation, maybe prevent segregation or minimize it. We can also, for example, choose the gradation of the aggregates and the type of the aggregates correctly to minimize the effect of this zone. Densifying the matrix and creating good bond with the aggregate also can help minimize or eliminate the downfalls due to the inherent properties of this zone. So many things. Now we know what goes on in this zone. For example, we need to prevent it. And the common modules, for example, when we talk about admixtures and other things, we will probably be introduced, or we will figure out what we can do to minimize the effect of this ITZ zone on the properties of concrete. Okay, so this is the end of lecture 14. which is the ITZ, or the microstructure properties of the ITZ. We have one remaining lecture in the cement module. We will cover it next time, which is the remaining types of the Portland cement. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next lecture. Thanks.